So today's session, there will be a lot of overview on cloud and overview on how the application is designed and the architecture. And so there will be a lot of theory in today especially, but towards the end of today, we will get hands-on. We will do some of the basic supply chain setups into the instance, and you all will also get a chance to use the instance. But from tomorrow, there will be a lot of focus on only the instance and the application. But I think this overview is very important. So I've planned at least the first, I can say 2 hours or 2.5 hours can go into theory. So please don't be overwhelmed. But I think it will give you an overview on the architecture.
Well, I did attend the supply chain course. So that way, to some extent, I know the basics.
Oh, you think you did attend the supply chain course? Okay.
Yeah, I attended that.
Not myself and Basha, so we need the concepts also.
Yeah, and also, so I want to also find out, like during our first introduction call, we were so focused on the training content. So I also want to understand the objective behind you guys opting for this training, so that I focus my training in that direction. So you guys plan to get into hands-on implementation after this course is done? Do you have implementations to do?
Not any firm opportunities, but definitely we want to get on to implementations.
Okay, but that's the idea, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so intention as consultants to see whether we can sign up for projects.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that I focus on some implementation points. If you think, you just want to have a good overview of cloud and understand how it works, I'll focus that way. But yeah, great, I get it. Okay, now that we have all our participants, let's begin. So firstly, good morning to everyone and welcome to our Oracle manufacturing session. And today is our day 1. So this is going to be our agenda for today. We have a good introduction about the manufacturing cloud. We'll take an overview. We will see the functional architecture.
Sorry to interrupt you, Diti, and you are going to give us the recording of this, right? So that we don't need to make notes.
Recording, I'll have to check with Shweta. Shweta, are you there on the call? No, Kavita was supposed to join the call. I don't see her. I'll have to check on this.
Well, I did ask Shweta. She said it will be available for 1 month.
Okay.
No, she said she's going to share us. That's what she told us.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know the instance you guys have up to 2 weeks after the session, and the recording, I know they are recording the session, but I'm really not sure if you're allowed the access. Yeah, if you've discussed that, Shweta, that is what it's going to be. Okay, and yeah, so like I said, today's session is going to be a lot of theory up until the manufacturing setups, because this is all about the architecture of cloud, what all is capable. Some things that I didn't put on the slide, but I'll cover the detailed UI and the way things are organized on the UI in the cloud. I will also cover roles, what roles you need as a manufacturing implementation consultant. How do you grant roles? How do you give access to every user? I will cover all of that. Okay? So the objective of today, so this is the course objective, but this is focusing only on the objectives today. At the end of the course, you will be able to perform setups. You will be able to speak about how the Oracle Manufacturing Cloud fits in the whole supply chain business processes. And today we are focusing on the very basic setup. That is, we will set up a manufacturing plant. Oops, I now see this is a plant. So it's a manufacturing plant, and we will create an
plan also.
Yeah, so today we'll focus on the plant and its setups. Okay, so this is the introduction. So what all manufacturing plant does, like how they there's a define phase wherein you set up the manufacturing plant, and in every plant you have your work areas defined, the work center, you create resources, you have a calendar which kind of tells you about the working schedules of the plant or of your resources which are associated to that plant and to that work area. We will see the, like in the define phase also comes the work definitions, like how every product is to be designed, how every product is to be manufactured, and then you can how calculate the lead times for manufacturing. You can also have a schedule process which automatically syncs if there are changes in the item structure, that is the BOM. If there are changes in the BOM, you can automatically sync them to your work definition so that when you manufacture that item, the changes are taken into account. Next is one monitor phase, like from the Oracle manufacturing capabilities. This is like the monitor phase. In the monitor phase, you can see the plant. You can, oh, I made a lot of typos. And then you can see the work area, how the work center is performing. You have, so Oracle gives you by default certain, it's called infolets. Infolets is nothing but a graphical view of statistical data, and these infolets can be created by the consultants, and there are certain infolets which are provided by Oracle which are seeded. In our manufacturing cloud, we also have a social network capability wherein you can communicate to the production engineer of the progress, to the production supervisor if you see things not moving. There is also an exception management and how do you handle the supplier operations. Supplier operations typically are when you outsource a certain operation, like if you want a certain testing or a certain capability which you cannot support in-house, we send it to a supplier to perform the certain operation on your product, and you continue with the rest of the manufacturing process. Our focus here is on mainly on the discrete manufacturing. In the discrete manufacturing, we have a dispatch list. So using this dispatch list, typically a production supervisor, he schedules all the productions by just a few clicks, and in this way he can organize his resources, organize the work orders which are in queue, and prioritize them. Using this UI, we can also print labels. We can also have a work order traveler which kind of travels along with your work orders, and you can monitor all your resource transactions, the material transactions, and you can do, like, these are all in the execute, like what all you can execute on a work order. And at the end we have our costing, how each of your material, your resources, all that integrate to the costing application to cost it.
1 minute before you proceed to the next one. So after each slide, give us a few minutes to ask questions, please.
Okay.
You said you will define a plan, right? So, what is the org structure where the plant definition falls? It comes under business unit, or where it falls in the structure?
I'm not sure if I got your question, but what typically in the implementations is done is the legal entities, the legal structures, and the business units are all defined by the finance team. And once those are defined, we as the supply chain consultants go and define the inventory organizations. Those inventory organizations, we mark them to be like manufacturing plants. Like we can have the organization as an item org or an inventory org, and we can say that this inventory org is also a plant which has manufacturing capabilities. So that's how typically it's executed. The entity structures, the business units are typically defined by a finance guy. Was that your question here?
Yes, I think the answer is, I think, for everybody's clarity. What I understand is inventory org is defined as a plan, right?
Correct.
So
there is a-
inventory are nothing but a plant here. It's the same concept as the EBS, right?
Yes.
So just show us when she's doing it. I think we will come. Okay.
Yes, we will see that. And here, there is also, like in the manufacturing cloud, a capability to have model one of the orgs as a contract manufacturing org, wherein if again you want to contract a work order to a contractor, you can create an inventory org as a contract manufacturing org. So that is also in your inventory organization setup, and that's typically when you want another contractor to complete the work order for you. So that is also comes under inventory org setup, which we will cover towards the end of this session. Okay.
And
these-
the word called, what is that word called? Before social networks, you mentioned something. What exactly is that? I just forgot that terminal.
Work definition?
No? Okay. I think I'll catch it up, okay? Don't worry.
Yeah, if you catch the word next time, I think I would suggest you guys make a note, and like you said, when we'll take logical pauses during my course of delivery, and that time you can pose your questions. So maybe you can just keep something handy and just scribble your questions.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And you're actually right when you say the term, like there was a new term. So I see there's a lot of difference in the usage of terms in EBS and cloud. Like in EBS, typically we call a BOM to know the item and its components. Here in cloud, it's called as an item structure. So BOM is no longer prevalently used here. So yeah, you will catch some new words. Of course, the meaning is the same, and of course there is a equivalent word in EBS. But
Right.
yeah,
And what about routing?
routing is called work definition here. Like the whole work definition incorporates your item structure, the resources, and everything.
Okay.
Oh, okay, Kavita, Kavita, if you don't mind, like, can you have, like, touch up what are the EBS terms and what are the cloud terms? That will be easy. Like, if you start the session, like, we all like under impression of it is something new we are learning.
So I would advise you make a note of words, and yes, we will keep discussing as we go. So and any words that cross my mind during the delivery, I will keep creating an analogy with the EBS. And though I have declared in my introduction, I'm not an EBS expert. I've been working for a very long time on cloud, and now my whole mindset is tuned to cloud. So and actually on this note, typically in consulting, what we many times even advise our customers is, and which Oracle typically professes, I won't say we have to follow that route because that's not a human nature. Oracle strongly professes not to compare EBS and cloud. They say they are two different product lines, but as a human tendency, as a normal human nature, it's good to compare, and I think it's quicker to learn that way. But yeah, that's very typical. That's typical. You'll keep hearing in any things if you hear from Oracle.
All new terminology will be asking a question. Don't worry. Just proceed.
Perfect. So yeah, now this is the capabilities of the manufacturing cloud. In the manufacturing cloud, we can do an in-house manufacturing, wherein you're manufacturing at your plant. You can do a contract manufacturing, wherein you're contracting to a subcontractor who's doing the work for you, and he gives you regular updates. We will see how this is implemented. There is outside processing, where one or many operations is outsourced to another manufacturer. Using the Oracle Manufacturing Cloud, we can manufacture standard and configured products, and typically the business flows are either built to a plan, that is based on a forecast or planning engine recommending certain outputs based on trends, or it is build to order. So build to order is where a customer enters a sales order and it decides that it wants to build a certain product.
Can you touch upon the standard and configured product?
Oh, yes, of course. We also will see the demonstration of standard and configured items. So standard, since you asked that, a standard, manufacturing a standard item is where the item type is standard. I will show you that. And it has certain components and we get it manufactured. It integrates to the manufacturing cloud, and based on your work definition, it's built. Configured products typically is from where a customer can choose from the options inside an ATO model. So if you say a very classic example of an ATO model is your laptop or your desktop computers, wherein you can have, where you can choose what processing you want, how much memory you want, what is the screen size, what is the RAM, and the hard disk space. So you choose out of the given options. Like I can choose a 64 GB RAM, I can choose a 128 GB hard disk with a 17-inch monitor, and while you can choose the 15-inch monitor with a 128 GB RAM. So based on your selections, a new star item is created. So the same star item is popularly called as a configured item here. So you define an ATO model, I define all the options underneath that, and so I will define the 128 GB RAM, I will define the 64 GB RAM, all this under one ATO model. And when a customer chooses one of those options, it creates a unique star item. And there is a matching process. We will see all of that. I will cover that in the slides further, where it matches the star item and it generates the same star item or a new star item based on the matching. So that is how you manufacture a configured product.
So basically you're telling the structure of a configured item is a model, option class, and options, right?
Okay.
Correct. Absolutely.
We got it. In this you are going to cover both. You have options of PTO and ATO both?
The PTO is typically like a standard item, so that is what I'm covering in the standard, and the configured item is the ATO. So today mostly we will plan to just cover the item definitions of both of these, and we plan to see the manufacturing process, how the work definition is different for them. All this is planned for tomorrow.
Okay, no problem. Right.
And today we will do all the basic setups which are required.
Go ahead.
Okay. This is a functional architecture of where the manufacturing cloud is placed. Honestly, I wanted to make the slide more sophisticated, but yeah, this is what I could fit in for now. So now what I will do is I will talk about each of these boxes as to what information is transferred between manufacturing and event. So here in the cloud, you know how Oracle has designed the cloud and its licensing is you license based on the product and based on the components and the functional architectures within the product. So it could be that in your license, you're just taking like a VCP package, which may not come with, you know, one of these, which may not come with purchasing, say, you know. So that is how the Oracle's cloud's subscriptions are prescribed. So you have to be aware of what your customer has prescribed, because a lot of business flows touch individual components, and we need to ensure that our customer has procured the license for each of them. So here, let's start with this box called product model. Product model is nothing but the place where you define your items. It's the product information management, and all the item details are shared over here. In the sense, it tells the manufacturing cloud the item the type of item, the structure, the item structure, and what components are needed to build that item. If manufacturing does not have that information, it will not even know what it needs to build. And in this product model, we also associate each item to the orgs, and that is what this information is fed to the manufacturing cloud, and in return manufacturing updates back for each item what are the lead times. It calculates, like there's a capability where manufacturing calculates the manufacturing lead time and it updates back into the product model.
Quick question. So if I understand right, product model is item definition, org assignments, and the whatever you call the item structure and work definition. Am I right?
The work definition comes under manufacturing, but item structure, item association, all the characteristic of items, all the item related, your product related stuff. So of course product manager model has a lot of capabilities in itself, where you copy orders, you have data quality, you have the change order processing, but relevant to manufacturing is this, the item structure and the association with orgs.
Without work definition, how do you calculate lead time?
The work definition is defined in the manufacturing cloud. So in product model, it's not the work definition. The work definition is already there in the manufacturing cloud.
So I think in your representation, I thought the way you represented in this model, all these components put together called manufacturing cloud itself is one of the modules in that.
No, that's why I said each box is a module. So this is the manufacturing cloud. The work definitions fall under this box, but the item structure fall under this box. Okay. And so that's why I'm just going to cover every box so that you know what capabilities that box brings in. So these are all products of Oracle. So this is called Product Information Management Cloud. This is called Planning Central Cloud, Purchasing Cloud. So, okay. And this is the Planning Central. So Planning Central, what it does is the work order scheduling, all those details are passed on between planning, because planning has visibility to every detail, every component, every resources which are being used, and based on that it plans and calculates and schedules each of the resources. It could be a material source, it could be like your labor or equipments, and so the planning has a process of collecting all this information from the manufacturing cloud, and then when it runs its planning engine, it takes into account all the factors of how much a resource is being used, or what all work orders are planned, and how much resource consumption is going to be there. So based on that information, if there are new work orders coming in, planning has an idea of a resource is going to be available when. Then you have...
let me just recap on Planning Central. Is it the Planning Central can create orders? You have the capability of creation orders or just planning the orders?
It has, so planning sends a recommendation to create orders, and yes, there is a flow called plan to produce, wherein the inputs come from planning. So planning is the originator of that request. So yes, planning can create orders.
So recommendation, create orders. It can create manual orders?
No manual orders. It runs a plan, it processes a plan, and based on the plan output, it based on your forecast. So what planning does is it consumes certain forecast, and after the output of the forecast, when you run the plan, it could recommend that, hey, we need to create 10 of this laptop because that's been the forecast input.
Basically it converts, it consumes forecast and basically does the conversion into orders, right? You got a workbench.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. So
order planning is nothing but you plan the tasks of the orders and prioritize the orders for the resources for the machines.
You don't plan, like what planning does is So basically you create a plan. The plan can be something that your planner has created. It can be from all the collected information, or it can be from a forecast. And when you execute a plan, and based on all the other setups, if it says, like if it's defined on the item that this item has to be manufactured, planning runs the plan. It sees that the output that this needs to be manufactured, and it creates a supply request. It's called a supply request because you're creating a supply, and it stocks that supply after the manufacturing process is done. So here, even we will see this flow in going forward. I have put up some slides of the business flows. So this is also, you know, like planning's output here is not an order. Planning typically, what do you say, gives the scheduling information exchange. When I show these two arrows, it gives the scheduling information exchange to the manufacturing cloud. It takes the information of resources. When planning recommends orders, it recommends through this product called supply chain orchestration. So plan is run where the output is to create a supply order. So this order comes into supply chain orchestration. Supply chain orchestration sends the request to manufacturing. We have that in the slide after this.
So there is a communication between supply chain common component to planning center.
Supply chain common component, this particular box here on the right, is all the common setups, like, you know, definitions.
For example,
it's all the, sorry, go ahead.
Where do you define forecast? Is it in planning central or where in supply chain common component?
The forecast is defined in planning central. The common components are your plant parameters, your unit of measures, your sub-inventories, your calendars, your shifts, what are the calendar, your working hours in the plant. So these are all the common parts of supply chain which can be fed into inventory and be fed into manufacturing, right?
Okay, got it. So
And
are you going to cover all of these boxes in detail again? That's why we ask too many questions here.
I would say all of these boxes in detail. Our focus is the manufacturing cloud. So whatever the manufacturing needs, we will go. We will see the common component setup today. So today our plan is to only do the common component setup because that is the prerequisite to any manufacturing implementation. We will create a plant, we will create calendar, and we will create the plant parameters and the profile options that are needed. So that is in the common component. We will create that.
By supply chain orchestration, do you mean like order management?
Actually, no. So, okay, let me give you this detail about supply chain orchestration. Actually, very commonly, there's a lot of interest around because the supply chain orchestration is a brand new product offering in the release 11, and there are two orchestration products from Oracle in the cloud. One is called distributed order orchestration and one is the supply chain orchestration. And yes, because it's something brand new, people are very overwhelmed with it. To put it in a high level, so I don't have distributed order orchestration here because it's not very directly connected to manufacturing. In the distributed order orchestration, you can say it orchestrates the demand. So distributed order orchestration is very closely tied to order management. So whatever demand it gets from order management, it orchestrates that. So you have a single view of your demand in the distributed order orchestration. It is typically called as DOO. And supply chain orchestration is a single view of all your supply in the Oracle Cloud. So in fact, it's a very interesting product, and I know when it was released, it had gathered a lot of attention because in EBS, if you want to see your supply, you have to get into manufacturing to see all the manufactured supply that is being created. You have to get into inventory to see all the stock that you have, or the transfer orders that you have. And you have to get into purchasing to know what all are the procured items. But in the cloud, the supply chain orchestration workbench gives you one single view of all your supplies. And supply chain orchestration is something that sits in the middle, and all requests to create any supply, like it could be a manufactured item, it could be a procured item, or it could be to transfer something. Supply chain orchestration sits in the center, and when a min-max plan is run, the request goes to SEO, like supply chain orchestration is called SEO. SEO routes that request to inventory to create the transfer. You can also have a transfer item, you can have a back-to-back flow where you want to procure the goods that is requested by the customer. In that case also, when you place your order in order management, after scheduling, and it comes to supply chain orchestration to create the supply. And supply chain orchestration looks at all your item definition, your ATP, and your what is it called, the sourcing rules, and it sees, okay, this is defined as a procured item, it sends a request to purchasing, and it also sends a request to manufacturing if it's a manufactured item. So you can call SEO as a supply orchestrating product, and similarly DO and OM, order management, are the demand orchestration area.
Okay.
So these are part of the planning central or supply demand?
Supply chain orchestration actually is, like I said, it's a product in the background which comes into picture whenever you create a supply. And Planning Central creates a supply, it sends a request to SEO, SEO sends a request to...
Correct.
It's a process in the between. So typically...
You should say it comes under Planning Central.
It's not entirely true when I say it comes under Planning Central, because even in your min-max, where it's only inventory and there's no Planning Central, even in that case it comes. In your back-to-back, where you're taking a demand from a customer order, SEO comes in that picture also. So it's wherever you're creating a supply, wherever. So if you're just sourcing from your warehouse, you already have the goods in your warehouse, you're just shipping it from your warehouse, no, SEO doesn't come into picture because you're not creating that supply. The supply is already with you, right? So whenever you're creating a supply, the supply creation can be because of a customer request, the supply creation can be because of a planned run, or it can be from a replenishment request.
Okay,
so anytime, yeah.
So the supply orchestration or the demand orchestration can be initiated from more than one module, right?
Right. And I have tried to put a view of most of these key business flows in cloud in the next coming slides. We'll see if things get a little clear once we are covering.
So is this supply chain orchestration, is it optional? Because let us say purchasing now, purchasing itself would handle the buy parts, and we do not necessarily need to go through supply chain orchestration. So is it really optional or it is compulsory?
So supply chain orchestration is not a separate license. It is part of the offerings wherever you need it. So if you're buying a VCP thing, if you're just buying purchasing, if you're licensing only purchasing, no, you don't get SEO. But if you're licensing Planning Central and the VCP plan, it comes into that. It's not a separately licensed product.
Okay.
I think the supply chain orchestration is basically it has a visibility from the planning perspective and also order management. As soon as you define the type of the order, whether it is a distributor order, whether it is a back-to-back order, then it gets into the picture and it will channelize that order. Am I right?
Yes. So whenever that order is needed to create a supply, that's when you will see it in supply chain orchestration. If your order management sales order is just being fulfilled from your warehouse, you already have the stock, then you don't have SEO in the picture. But wherever you know it's not in your stock and you need to either buy it or manufacture it, that's when SEO comes into the picture.
Or like, in sometimes, like, plant suggest you have a product in a different plant, you can transfer that to the main distribution center. In that case also, because SEO has visibility across the distribution center, it will tell you where is the product lies at this moment.
Absolutely, that's perfectly right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
No, 1 minute. What is that, Sheikh? What you have just mentioned? Can you repeat?
Come again, Rao. His question to me.
Yeah. What did you say just now?
So it's transferring the product from the other plant, So sometimes plant tells you, hey, you need to, one type is you need to make a product or transfer the product in order to ship it to the customer, or you need to manufacture.
It's sourcing rules.
That's right.
That is sourcing rules.
yeah,
But SEO has a visibility where the product lies at this moment, whether you need to manufacture or you need to transfer it or you need to buy it from the supplier.
How it can decide? That needs to be done by some rules, right?
Basically, that is what it is channelized. It gives to the it comes to the ready-made information and it gives the handy information basically.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think this corresponds to, in EBS you have two tables, MTL supply and MTL demand. And those are intermediate tables. We don't necessarily need to populate them. They're automatically populated.
Exactly. Yes.
And so this is an intermediate layer that seems to be created, and they are given a formalization here, a formal name to the process. That's what in my mind it looks like.
Yeah, it's kind of MRP dashboard kind of thing,
What do you say just now, Dilip? Which were the things you are thinking?
Yeah, MTL supply and MTL demand, you have those two tables in
Supply
EBS.
demand, right? Form, supply demand form.
No, MTL supply and MTL demand, there are two tables there, which are automatically populated based on triggers or whatever in EBS. And that's kept up to date, and they are used internally. So it's just a layer, it's just a process that's handled internally. I don't think we need to do anything about this, but it sort of explains the internal structure a little bit. But I think it's not necessary to go into it. System handles it by itself.
We'll
I think let's move on. I think it's okay. We have understood at this stage.
Got it. Thank you. Move on. Let's move on.
Okay. Now, if we see the quality management, in quality management, you share the inspection details, the inspection outcome with the manufacturing cloud, and it takes from manufacturing cloud your work orders, your resource details, and all the attributes it takes from the manufacturing cloud, and it shares the inspection results back into the manufacturing cloud.
No. 1 minute. Quality management, what it does, quality management, will it does, when your job is getting executed, can it capture details? Quality details?
There is a setup we define. We say whether you want an inspection, and based on that, what you define, it processes that way. Sometimes you want to say that the quality should be done at the end of the work order execution, or you define that the quality inspection should be done at the end of the operation completion.
That is done at work order level, right?
Yes. So based on the setup that you have defined, it sends that information in the background to the quality management application, which takes all the work order details, the resource details, the materials, and it does its inspection and sends the results back there to the manufacturing cloud.
So can you do the quality standalone also without integrating with any operation, work order or anything, inter-operation?
So typically quality can be used as a standalone when you want to integrate it to an external application. So it could be that you have an external third-party application which is not like the Oracle Manufacturing Cloud, and you just want to use the inspection and the quality capabilities of Oracle Cloud. That's when you can do that. But in itself, you can only, in the quality management cloud, we typically define your inspection parameters, the allowed threshold limits, and your quality inspection related stuff. Okay, so this is just like a setup of what you need to validate and when you need to validate, and what is an allowed value, what is not an allowed value. Now, for this to be executed, it needs the transactional data. The transactional data comes from the manufacturing cloud.
Right. So you have, can you define specifications in quality? Do you have a global specification? You have local specifications?
Yes, there are a lot of capabilities there. It's not a fully mature product. Quality was released in the release 13, but it is fairly mature to do basic inspection related stuff.
Also, you have anything called quality can stop a work order. Quality can put a hold on the status, material status. Can you do some such actions?
Yes, we can. So we will see all of this in our quality session, which we have as.
No, I'm just only introduction. I'm asking. That's it. Yep.
No, true. I'm just calling out that we will see all its capabilities in our day 4.
I'm asking right from knowledge of R12, so that's what I'm asking. Okay.
Sure.
Got it. You can go ahead. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to cover it in detail.
Coming to purchasing, what it does is it shares the purchase order details. This is typically used when we are using the contract manufacturing or the outside processing, because we place purchase orders with our contract manufacturer to pay him for that purchase order for the work that he's been doing.
1 minute, Dipti. Is it Basha? Are you accessing this voice through phone?
Yeah.
Can you put your phone on hold, please? A lot of echo is coming.
Okay, let me put that mute.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So the purchasing application typically shares the purchase order details to the manufacturing cloud. So in your contract manufacturing work order, we can see all the purchase order placed with that contract manufacturer also. So the purchasing integration comes only in these 2 flows, the contract manufacturing and the outside processing. The next is the supply chain orchestration. We discussed a lot about this already. This one will share your work order updates, the progress updates, everything. All your work order progress can be viewed in a single view in the supply chain orchestration. Though you can of course see it in the manufacturing area too, but even in supply chain orchestration, the work order updates are captured, like just in case there's a change in quantity or there's some material which is rejected. All that is also updated to the supply chain orchestration, because this is, like I said, it's a single view of what all supply you are creating. So if you have a supply chain administrator in your organization, typically in vast supply chain industries which have multiple manufacturing plants, which have multiple inventory organizations, the administrator gets a single view on all the products which are in process of its supply creation. The next is our receiving application, where you perform receipts, the put away, the delivery. So whatever is executed by manufacturing, you can receive the product and store it in your inventory or send it out to your customer. Next is, we'll move on next to the inventory.
One minute. Sure. Receiving. So you're talking about receiving a product which is manufactured within the plant, same plant?
Yes.
So yeah, that is a separate operation to receive it in particular sub-inventory or located in the inventory? Is a separate transaction? Okay.
But this is an automatic process. But if you see your work order is completed, you can get into the receiving application, and when you search for that receipt, you will see that the product is received in that particular locator or the particular sub-inventory.
So there is auto, you can define defaults to the work order or at item level, it goes there automatically, right?
Yes, yes.
Second thing is receiving. Are you covering the receiving, like if I receive through PO or if I receive through some other internal order, or if I receive through sub-inventory or a miscellaneous transaction or adjustment? Are you going to cover all those things?
So I was planning to show you the whole manufacturing execution process that will be coming in our day 2 or day 3. And in that process, when we complete a work order, we will see how your receiving sub-inventory is also updated.
No. I'm talking about just receiving process. One process you said that from work order you get received into inventory. Agreed. Second one, you receive through another org or plan to this plan or in this inventory org. Are you going to show us different receiving processes like a direct receipts, one-step receipt, two-step receipt, three-step receipt?
No. I was not planning to go into the details of receiving. But we will see how the receipts are created, and maybe when we have, whenever we have an option, we can go over the setup. I can just show you the pages, walk you through it. But I was not planning on a detail on how the receiving is done for like all the different kinds of receiving.
Absolutely, Dipti, we totally understand. You cannot cover 4 days all the understand. But I'm asking the capability of the product. Can we do receiving by these 3 processes, like direct receipt without anything, just ship from somewhere and it gets received here? One step,
we can.
2-step receipt, 3-step receipt, all the things are capability is there.
Yes, that is the capability is there. Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, now we are moving on to our next application, the inventory management. So from inventory management, the manufacturing cloud takes in all your lot number, serial numbers, on-hand quantity, if there are any reservations that you're creating, and all material transactions. All these updates are passed on from inventory to manufacturing and manufacturing to inventory. So in inventory, it's typically inventory and shipping. So when you're shipping out the manufactured product, it's also like coming under this box. I didn't put a separate box for shipping because it's like, ultimately it's all the same organization which is doing it. We also have an integration to the asset lifecycle management. Here we have all to integrate from the manufacturing cloud. It integrates all your materials, your operations, and the transactions so that it can track the life cycle of that asset. Okay, next is cost management, which also we will cover sometime. Here it just calculates all your cost for the resources, for the material. So it takes from the manufacturing cloud your work definition, your resource, the rates, the work order status, the operations which are transacted, the resources which are transacted. It needs all this information in order to cost them.
So you are going to cover, I think this we have requested.
Yes.
You're going to cover the cost definition. You have different cost methods like standard, average, and FIFO.
Yes. We will cover one of them and we will go through all the setups on where we can do each of them.
Yeah, please show, at least you explain a little bit about what are the different cost methods possible.
Sure. Sure. And this one also we discussed. These are all the common supply chain, the common setups where you set up a plant, you set up all the plant parameters, you define your default sub-inventories, you define your unit of measures, what shifts your resources are available, and when they are working, how many resources you have. All these are like the common components. So this is how typically, in the cloud it's organized. Like I said, everything is is a product or a box in itself. And all these integrate very seamlessly. And there are a lot of flows which are called like touchless flows, because you just initiate the order and till its execution, it's pretty much touchless. So apart from all these integrations, you can also integrate the Oracle Cloud to external applications. So it's very common where in our implementations where the customers or their partners have an external application which you need to integrate to have your whole supply chain process for that customer. It's a very common practice.
Can you give some examples? External applications means.
So one of the example was in one of my implementations, we had an external shipping partner who would handle all our shipping related requests. So we always had to integrate with that external person, with that external partner, our exact inventory picture, our exact shipping request or details. And it's, to be honest, again, the EBS integration with the Oracle Cloud is also again very common, because most of the times I've seen the customers do not want to upgrade the manufacturing into the cloud. So what they do is they keep their EBS manufacturing, and they have the Oracle Cloud supply chain components purchased, wherein they have the order management capabilities because it's very advanced. They have planning central capabilities, and all this we integrated back to EBS because their EBS system talks to other third parties which do this contract manufacturing for them. So what we do is we integrate this manufacturing cloud with the EBS manufacturing. So the idea is to always have the EBS data and the manufacturing cloud data in sync. That's one example. The other example, like I said, where you want to just integrate external product you want to manufacture, and the other, your subcontractor is not on Oracle Cloud. So you integrate your work orders with them, you send them the work orders to be implemented, they send you the updated status of the work order, they send you the completed work order into your inventory. So all that things go through internal integrations, external integrations to the external applications. We have web services for all of this.
Okay. So how is it a real-time integration, or what, can you explain a little bit about what is the type of integration? Is it a batch integration scheduled like 1 to 2 hours, or is it a batch integration scheduled every day?
Yes, the most of them are batch integrations. We have scheduled jobs which run to pick up all the, say, all your work orders in a particular time frame and integrate to your external application. There are some real-time integrations also available, and some of them are the batch processing.
You have some APIs or something to do this, or?
Yes, we have APIs and the REST services, it's called here. The REST services which integrate these orders real time also to your external third-party vendors.
REST services?
Yeah, it's I'm forgetting the full form of like REST. It's called REST services. So most of Oracle's web services and APIs are the REST services.
Please give us the full form maybe next time, yeah. And,
yeah, I'm going to make a note.
Okay. So maybe these are all things that they expect us to talk, right?
Yeah, of course, to use the right jargons of Oracle Cloud is also very important.
Then, what way it is different than the ordinary interfaces? Maybe we can explain a little bit high level.
Different? No, I mean, I won't say it's anything different. It's just a different technology in which it's implemented. So earlier we had the SOAP services. We used a lot of SOAP services. We used to test the services in the SOAP UI. Are you guys aware of SOAP UI? Have you heard of SOAP UI?
No, maybe. Should? Did you do?
No, I never heard that.
Okay, it's an open tool. SOAP UI is an open tool application to test web services typically, and it's like before you integrate, you just want to test your web services, right? It gives us a UI front of the XML. We change values in that, and when you hit the execute button, it typically executes what the web service does. So, you have get operations, which get you details from the external application. You have some post operation, like for a particular web service, say, create work orders. Create work order will have a get, which gets the work order from the external application. It has a post, which posts the work orders from the manufacturing cloud to the external application. I will show you the web services available in manufacturing also on our last day. On the last day, I mean the day 3.
No problem. Let's go into details later. No problem. Then, okay.
Okay. So basically, what you are saying is, behind the scenes, all these processes they call web services, right?
Yes. So, what all this internally, it calls web services, but they are all seamless. We don't need to touch it. We don't need to do anything. But when it integrates to external applications, typically we have developers also in our product. They use something called ICS, Integrated Cloud Service, and or it's called SOA CS. SOA is Service Oriented Architecture Cloud Service, SOA CS. And using, again, it's all based on licensing, whether you have ICS license or SOA CS license. So in the center here, you have either the ICS or the SOA CS using which you integrate to external applications. But that SOA CS, ICS is the developer's job.
Yeah, I'm just getting the overview how the technology works in the new Fusion side of that. Like, usually, like, on the EBS side, like, we have APIs, packages, and everything. So here, everything is built as web services. So if you are creating the manufacturing order, it calls the create web service something. It calls and it creates the order. That's how the technology works, right? I'm just getting how this was, like, integrated.
No, that's absolutely correct. And yes, in the cloud, everything is based on these APIs and web services. And in the cloud, the even drawback is like in EBS, you have the packages. You could view the package, you could view the output, you can view your tables. So in the cloud, all that is very restricted. So the development activities is quite challenging, to be honest. Though I would say the Oracle products are really maturing with time. So just like a couple of years back, you didn't have a lot of services available. You didn't have good debugging or a good view of what the outputs are. But as time goes on, Oracle is regularly updating the cloud suite, and most capabilities are coming in with every release and every quarter patching.
Oh, it makes sense. Basically, like, we cannot touch anything like the way they build it on the cloud side. It's a very challenging development aspect of cloud.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Now, if I understand correctly, all these modules, what you're talking about, are communicated through web services in real time. Am I right?
Yes.
Correct.
And if there is any failure, is there any way to figure out? Each one will have its own, what is that called, some log files or something for these web services?
So, like I said, because Oracle products are maturing with time, so just a couple of years back, getting access to logs or getting access to the errors was really a nightmare. And the main problem is the error messages are not really clear. Okay, so that's actually the most, I would say, the biggest challenge. So like you said, if something fails, log files, we definitely don't have access. Typically we raise an SR and we tell them this is the issue, this is the things we want to investigate, and that's when they help us with the log files and all. And like I said, the challenge is where the error messaging is not too clear. So sometimes you will see, a very generic error message, and it doesn't even help you with where the problem could lie. But with every, like I said, with every release, things are becoming a little more sophisticated, a little more better, but it's not fully there. just to something share with you real time what we keep facing. It's just that it's not fully there.
Okay, so now I know exactly how this works. Just to understand, typically in EBS, if the error comes, probably that comes from the one of the package they can handle very well. They can tell you which process or which function of the code has a problem. But since it's a web service, it collectively, it may contain many modules, so it is very hard to figure out where is the problem lies. So that's the reason handling the error handling is very difficult. You need to go to them. They can figure it out based on the process where exactly this problem is initiated.
Right. So every application, has its own way to display the error messages, if any, or so again, like I said, they're not always helpful, but that's the only stop, and then you can investigate based on the error message that you read, or file SRs with Oracle to get an idea of where or what is the issue here. Because you don't have access to packages, you don't have access to the backend services, it's more challenging to investigate. Okay, I will now move on to our next topic, which is also very interesting. It is all about the business flows, and it's about the key business flows which are in Oracle Cloud. And again, we will hear a lot of terminologies. We will hear of all the business flows of back-to-back, of contract manufacturing, of plan to produce. So these are called cross-functional business flows because each of this business flow, like if I go to the previous slide, will touch, different modules in the supply chain. And that's why these are called cross-functional business flows. In certain Oracle terms, it's also called advanced flows, like advanced fulfillment flows, because it's like touching multiple components. Okay, so the first flow we will see is a plan to produce. So I've put this diagram in the simplistic way that I can, not to overwhelm you guys. So plan to produce is where you are planning, like as the name says, you are planning to produce a material. So that's like an in-house manufacturing. So we spoke about the in-house capability. So here, if you see, the input comes from a plan. So you create a plan, you run a supply plan. That's what is the originator for this supply. So in this, we are just manufacturing certain goods and stocking it in our inventory. That is what this business flow is about. So here, value chain planning, or you can say planning central, initiates the plan, runs the supply plan. Like I said, I put it very simplistically. This is the value chain planning, and its setup is a whole big process in itself. But it takes multiple inputs. Like this is one of the, I would say, the most complex piece, mostly in supply chain, I can say. So when you run the plan, the output of the plan is put into this supply chain orchestration, where it creates a supply order. The supply order, in our session today, mostly we will talk about the manufacturing supply order. So supply chain orchestration looks at your sourcing details, looks at your sourcing rules, and it says, okay, this is a manufacturing order. It integrates to manufacturing and creates a work order. So all the process of work order, creating, executing, and completing the work order. Once the work order is completed, it updates into logistics. It's called logistics, like your inventory organization. It updates the finished goods inventory. And at the same time, it also integrates to costing, all the resources which were consumed, the material which was consumed, and it also sends one integration to costing. So these are the different applications in supply chain that we test for this flow called plan to produce.
1 minute. In this, what are all the things are mandatory? What are all the things are optional? Like value chain planning, if I feel that my organization is small and I don't have enough thing to, I can straight away I want to do manual orders. Where I will start?
If you want to do manual orders, you do it only in manufacturing. You start in manufacturing. You can create orders in manufacturing and begin to plan. Like, yeah, that's also a very common implementation. You're not a big organization. You don't need huge planning central to plan all your orders. So we've had a case in one of the implementations where all the plannings was done in an Excel. They had some macros because it was very limited set of planning. They had their macros and Excels prepared. They would do all the planning in that Excel, and then they would just create the orders in manufacturing. We had created them through an integration and all, but if the order volume is low, you could create them manually, or you can have from services, web services or something, you can create your orders. We also have different capabilities to create bulk orders. We'll cover that in our further sessions.
Okay. From Excel, can you straight away import into cloud? Is there any tool?
Yes, that is also there. I think if we get time, we will cover that today. So there is a feature called ADF-DI. Okay, ADF-DI. So ADF stands for Application Development Framework. ADF is the framework which all the Oracle Cloud applications use, and DI is the desktop integration. So Application Development Framework Desktop Integration is ADF-DI. Using this ADF-DI, this is like an add-in. It's an add-in in your Excel. So once you download the add-in, install it in your Excel, your Excel worksheet is integrated to the Oracle Cloud. And then you can enter transactions, you can enter setups in this Excel sheet, and at the click of a button, it integrates instantly to the Oracle Cloud. That is also a very interesting and a useful integration, and it's used in supplier creation. It's used in when you create your work orders or items for bulk creations. It's very commonly used in inventory for all your inventory transactions or your inventory setups.
Yeah, I know this is very useful in case of plan failed and the manufacturing plant, they don't wait another plant to run and get the orders. And in that situation, they can import the data from the ADS and they can start creating the orders and working in the plants.
Great.
Yeah.
Actually, the ADF-DI, you create a template from cloud and then you populate that template, or how is that? You need a template station?
No, the template is given by Oracle and the template is mostly available in your application. As a prerequisite, you have to download that add-in from your cloud instance and enable that add-in in your Excel. That will be the prerequisite. And once that is there, for each of the capability which supports the desktop integration, you will have the template from Oracle, and that can be searched in the Oracle site. In the Oracle site, you can get the templates, or sometimes in the application itself, in that particular page, you have an option to download the template.
So you're saying that just download it from cloud and install it to Excel, right?
Yes,
so
it's an add-in that you enable, yes.
The add-in is common for every type of import, or is it a common add-in, or is specific to each import?
No, the add-in is common, and add-in is like a one-time job. One time you download that add-in to your system and you enable that in Excel. But sometimes, like I said, it's mostly a one-time thing. You don't do it again. But sometimes with upgrade, you might need to download again. So that can happen 6 months or in 1 year or more than a year. You might need to download the add-in again. Otherwise, for a very good amount of time, unless there are no updates, and most of the some updates, you can still use your existing add-in. Some updates call for you to reassociate the add-in. But it's the add-in is a common add-in, and any functionality, if in purchasing you want to upload suppliers or purchase orders via desktop integration, the same add-in is used. If in manufacturing you want to update your work definitions, it's the same add-in. So the add-in is a one-time thing. Then any application in the Oracle Cloud, even in finance, if you're using the desktop integration, it's the same add-in.
Got it. Yeah. Are you going to show the add-in
Yes.
in the installation or no?
Yes, I will.
Okay, then let us not cover it. Thanks.
Yeah, it's planned today itself. If not, yeah, tomorrow also, because tomorrow we are doing the work definitions. We can do it tomorrow also.
Please feel free to tell us if you are covering that topic in detail. Just you can shortcut us telling that I'm going to cover this. That's why we don't ask more.
Yeah, right. When this is going on, we could probably wait and spend more time with the actual process in Oracle rather than this is conceptual right now. We can not spend as much time on these concepts because that's not too difficult, but we need to see in actual practice how do we do it. That's more important.
Yeah. So wherever we are covering in the later part of the thing, please let us know. Otherwise, just give us more details.
Absolutely. Okay, and now we'll go on to our next business process. This is also a very important business process called back-to-back fulfillment. Typical back-to-back fulfillment is where you purchase items from a supplier, but it's also possible that you think that this product is easier for me or is more effective for me to manufacture over purchasing from another supplier. So here, like we all know, back-to-back order, the origination is from a customer demand. A customer demand comes in from a sales order. So the customer is entering a sales order that gets into global order promising. This is called like GOP. GOP does the scheduling. It sees that it is a back-to-back order and we need to create supply for this particular demand. It sends the request to SCO. And then SCO once again refers to its routing and the sourcing rules, and it says, hey, I need to manufacture this order. It sends the request to manufacturing to create a work order. So once the work order is created, executed, completed, the work order is sent to logistics. The logistics is nothing but your shipping, where it retains its reservations against the sales order, and then logistics ships the sales order directly to our customer.
A quick question on this. So, based on the make item or buy item, that's what makes whether it's a create supply order or create a work order.
Correct. That and your sourcing rule.
And sourcing rule. Okay. If it is it can be done in both the ways. Then can we manipulate that by based on? Can you define by based of a work order? Can we say get it outside the respect of the sourcing rules?
No, you cannot override the sourcing rule for now.
Okay. Okay. So, as the moment purchase order or a manufacturing order created, the supply. For example, if I receive a product from either from a supplier or a manufacturing order, will it carry the reservation along with that?
Yes. So in a back-to-back process, what is interesting in the cloud is once there's a very interesting concept where your reservation is transferred. This is I know this is there only in the cloud and it's not there in EBS. I'm not too sure how it's there in EBS, but I know it's not there in EBS. So what happens is when this supply order is created, like supply chain orchestration creates the work order. At first, this work order is reserved against the is reserved for the demand for our sales order. And once this work order is completed and you have the material in your inventory, the reservation is transferred from the work order to the on hand. This is the very interesting switch, and it all happens seamlessly. Like There's no manual intervention here.
Yeah, yeah. In the EBS also, when you have this kind of even ATO order processing also, when you create the work order as ATO, it creates the reservation against that work order and it tells you that work order is in process. When the work order is completed, the reservation will change automatically from the work order to the inventory, which means that inventory is sitting sitting in the inventory, and it is ready to ship it.
Oh, okay. So here it happens even for standard items, like even standard items back to back behaves the same way.
Yeah, in short, it is there in EBS also.
Okay.
I think one change here is, I think, are you going to cover this model in your demo, back-to-back order, or you are you're not covering it?
No, back-to-back I'm not covering.
So can you give us what are all the, as you rightly just now what you're mentioning is, it happens to the standard items as well as to the ATO items. So, any specific setups for the back-to-back orders? Can you use any specific setup?
The key thing is in your item, you mark the back-to-back attribute. You enable the item to be a back-to-back item. And apart from that, no, regular rest all other common setups of your sourcing rules, ATP rules.
So in short, this is covering ATO model, ATO standard item, as well as it covers the dropship. So those are the three things it covers. Okay, compared to EBS. Right.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
I think one is the item to be enabled as a back-to-back item. That's one prerequisite. Another one is the sales order need to be order type need to be a back-to-back order. Right?
Not really. You just enter a sales order. The system automatically sees that it is a back-to-back order. It sees the sourcing rule. It sees the item attribute, and then it determines that it's a back-to-back flow, and it takes it to the back-to-back processing. You also have an option, like you said, you can choose the order type, and then you have rules to define that if it's this order type, go to this flow.
Hey, that is too much, creating the order types and all. If you define the item as a back-to-back, which is nothing but a ATO in our EBS, regular EBS, and when you book the order, it will take care. It will create the work order automatically.
Basha, let us not talk about the outcome. Let us tell about what are the setups.
I think let us see this in actual practice. No need to discuss too much conceptually.
Yeah.
She's not going to show us this. Really. She's not covering this demo. This part in so that's the reason why we are getting into little details of high level.
Okay.
So, again, like how Bhasha and Rao are discussing, I have seen consultants implement it as this way to create an order type because they find that very simple, they find it very sure, but that's not required. That's not the required way to do it. Of course, that's very simple because, most consultants on the cloud are in a learning curve right now, but from a product capability, or from Oracle's offering capability, it's not mandatory to define an order type as back-to-back and use it only that way. If your setups are proper, if your item is proper, you do not have the inventory stock. So it looks at everything. So if the item is lying in your inventory organization, the scheduling says, why should I manufacture this item when it's lying in my stock? So there are multiple things that it views. So the item has to be back-to-back, your sourcing rules have to be correct, and then the item should not be present in your inventory. That's when the scheduling, like this piece, says, hey, I need to create the supply for this. And because I need to create the supply, it sends a request to SEO. If it thinks the supply is available in one of your organizations, it recommends to ship from that organization. So, like I said, it's not a required setup, but yeah, but you're right. I've seen a lot of consultants implement it that way.
Hey, one like
Let's ask you one question, Basha. Question is, for example, if I'm making, as you said, computer, I'm making a RAM or I'm making some kind of accessory of a computer. And I make, in a service organization, the RAM is used for many models, many computers in production, as well as for a specific customer request. So how do you use one item to be part of a build to stock and build to back-to-back order? Is there any way to do that?
But I'm just wondering, why would you really want to differentiate? I mean, you can have the material, and based on how the order is coming in, you just you consume the RAM in your inventory.
Not like that. What happens is, if back-to-back, the whole advantage is that item produced will not be allocated or reserved for other orders, and that nobody else can take it away. It ensures that. But whereas if you don't have that differentiation capability, what happens is it's a kind of a make to stock, build to stock kind of environment. Anybody can fill it up.
Yes.
But now you can as well make to stock in addition, even if it's a back-to-back item, you can as well plan and create stock for that. That
Correct.
doesn't stop you from doing that.
Correct, Dilip. The question is, here in the fusion, the way she was telling is, there is no specific order type. There is only, you enable an attribute called back-to-back on item, which defines the behavior of your back-to-back fulfillment or manufacturing. If once I enable that, all orders will be back-to-back. For example, some of the things I will not have in an order.
Right. So that is only affecting your order management. So only orders that come in through the sales orders that come in, they go as back-to-back. But every time if you already created stock and kept, it will locate that stock and reserve against that stock, and the matter is over. So yes, it will work that way efficiently. And in addition, you can plan to produce extra and keep in stock. Both ways you can do. But if you put in the attribute, yes, for every sales order, it will try to reserve the stock that is already there. And if stock is not there, it will tell you to buy. So that should work. Even if you want to do it, that will work.
Let me put this question in a different way. So once you have a back-to-back, then sales order will have a capability of automatically creating a work order from sales order.
Right? If necessary. If stock is not there. Or it will pick up that stock and reserve it. The stock is already there. It will not tell you to make if the stock is already there. The free stock is already there. So that should work okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
I think build to stock is basically no sales order, you create a work order for the item. Though it is back-to-back order enabled, it's built to stock.
Right, you can build to a forecast, for instance. You can build to a forecast and create stock.
Yeah. But
right.
You will not have any associated work orders.
Pardon?
Back-to-back attribute will give a capability of converting a sales order into work order, a related work order. Is it correct?
If stock is not there. If stock is not there.
No, 1 minute. Let me ask you this. In Fusion, can you convert the sales order into work order if you have this attribute enabled?
Yes. So you can. This is not like a conversion, but yeah, it creates a related work order. So this is the sales order, and it creates a related work order. And this work order is always tied to your sales order. So nobody can steal the material which is created out of this work order unless you cancel the sales order after the manufacturing is completed. So once you cancel the
auto-create work orders from a sales order, that capability.
Correct. It's all the back-to-back setup. If you have all the back-to-back setup for a particular sales order, it can create a work order.
Got it. So you will get that capability. That is the main differentiator, right? If you have the automatic. Got it. I think that's how R12 is also. Got
Yeah, and similarly in the same, like in this case, I've covered only a manufacturing back-to-back order, but the same can be covered with the same can be fulfilled using a purchase order or a transfer order. So it's exactly the same flow. It's just that instead of this manufacturing piece, you will have a purchasing, which is creating a purchase order, or you will have an inventory here, which is creating a transfer order. But in this, like, because it's a manufacturing session, I just put up the manufacturing slide.
Got it. So based on the two item attribute combination, this works. One is make item and back-to-back order. A buy item and back-to-back order. Am I right?
Correct. And your sourcing rules. See, your sourcing rules also have to be defined in that way that it actually thinks that it has to create the supply.
Sourcing rules gives you which plant has to make or which supplier has to supply in case of purchase.
Correct. Absolutely.
That gives
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I have a very quick question before we move. One thing is, I have an item. I did not mark it as a back-to-back. I mark it as a regular, okay? And that item does not have any stocks, okay? When we schedule the order, what STO does?
So here, your order is not even come into SCO yet because you're not creating the supply yet for it. In scheduling, it sees when it can schedule the order. So
Okay.
based on your sourcing rules, you have not marked it as back-to-back. It means it will not create a supply for it. Okay. So it will not even come to SCO. Now based on what you have set up in this module called GOP, it may give you a future plan, a future date, like a future promise date, or it may give you an infinite planning, date later, or it may give you another organization where the material is stocked already, but it will not create a supply because it's not a back-to-back order.
Got it. Thank you.
It
In
stays
that case, you
here.
rely on planning, on VCP or something to create that.
Correct.
Okay, so one more question, and before this is also very relevant question only. Okay, so you mark as a ATO, and in that case, it definitely back-to-back definitely create the work order. But before that, if the material is available, very same item, will it is suggest you to pick from there?
Good question. Yes, it does. So in case of ATO also, it works, the processing is exactly like standard item. It does look if the stock is there and if your same laptop that you have configured, if it's already present in the stock, it will recommend to pick up that stock. And if it is not, it will look for creating the supply through purchase order or through manufacturing a work order. And so even that ATO model, we mark it as back-to-back. If it's a configured item like, configure to order flow, we mark it as back-to-back and we do.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Then what is the star item now? I thought it is a unit, am I right? Each item is configured as unique model item.
So yes, but sometimes it so happens that your star item is created and after that your sales order is cancelled and you just have the star item in your stock. So here it does look for the availability of the star item. If it's not available, in most cases it's not available. Like you said, typically the process is to have it manufactured uniquely.
To another question. If you have a sales order and you created a purchase order in a back-to-back flow or a work order, if you change sales order, will that change that's reflected corresponding purchase order sales order?
Yes, all changes, if it's done on the sales order, gets reflected on the manufacturing or the purchase order, or if the supplier makes any change to the purchase order or to, the production manager makes a change to the work order, it's reflected back onto the sales order. All the changes go both the ways.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And it's all viewed in a very single view. You can view all the changes. Sometimes like if you reduce the quantity of the work order, so splits the sales order into two lines, because the other part which the work order is not fulfilling is also scheduled and created again.
Oh, got it. So in work order and PO, when it changes, splits the line in sales order.
Yes.
Got it. I think we got a good idea. So.
This is actually a very interesting flow, the back-to-back flow. Okay, and now I will move on to the next flow. Like I said, this part of our session is theory, but it is for you to understand the whole architecture and the flows which are supported and how they are supported. So if you are doing a back-to-back implementation, if you have errors, you kind of relate to one of these boxes.
Order promising and scheduling an order is a must, or is it a mandatory step or optional step?
It is mandatory, and it is very tightly coupled with order management, and your orders will not progress if you do not complete this order GOP setups.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So most implementations, again, the first time implementers do get quite a bit of errors in getting their order scheduled, because the GOP engine has to have the right setups for it to schedule the order. Okay.
Is there any seeded setup is there for it without touching it?
No, for GOP, no. Because it's your own items, it's your org, you have to, feed all your data into the engine for it to plan. So it's very data specific. You cannot have like a seeded item, right? So item and org and all the lead times of it. So it's very data specific. So it's mandatorily to set up this order promising.
So it takes from the item lead times, am I right? And the shipping networks.
Yes, it looks into everything. So GOP this is also a very complicated product where it looks into a lot of things. There's a process called collections. It collects data from all the supply chain applications, stores it in its own database, which it consumes during processing and promising orders.
Actually, so now we have in EBS also we have the ATP rules, and that is becoming very important in GOP. That's very important out here.
Correct.
No, but in R12, ATP is not important, am I right? I can schedule an order based on my setups as the shipping networks, if it is internal order, and based on the lead times, item lead times. You don't need a mandatory setup.
Here, for all sales orders, it is mandatory for anything which is on order management.
So the GOP, you mean to say the shipping networks, times and item lead times comes under this GOP module or something, this specific module?
No, actually those come under the SCM common setups, like a shipping network and all that lead time and all that is like a SCM common setup. Now what GOP does is it collects all this detail. It collects the shipping network, it collects the item information, it collects your orgs, and it stores it in its own database. So this process of collecting data is called collections. So you run a process called collections. It's very much same how it's in EBS. It stores the data in its table, and then the new thing in cloud is called data store. Then you have to run another job which picks up all this data and puts it into a real-time view. And this real-time view is the view which the order promising engine looks into to promise all the orders. So this is done only because in EBS, when you're running your collections, all your processing is at a halt. So, but here, because it's referring to a real-time view, it's referring to another, say, XML. The collections, when the collections is being run, none of your order processing is stopped. The order processing just continues to go on while it's promising from the data store. And time to time after your collections, you have to run another job to refresh the data store. So this makes it a very real-time order promising and a very continuous order promising.
So you call data store is a process, am I right? From collections, it creates a real-time view.
Correct.
Okay.
And we can still override that schedule date, right? Manually, we can override in certain conditions, right? By
Yes.
different privileges.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, now I will move to the next business flow. Next is a configured item flow. So this is also a very interesting flow wherein you have an native model and a star item is created the first time, and then you create the supply for the star item. Again, in our frame today, the star item is going to be manufactured. You also have the option of procuring that star item like any back-to-back flow. So here again in this first step, in the order management, you enter the sales order this time for a model item. You select your options. Like I said, you could select a RAM, you could select the hard disk space, you could select your screen size, and based on the selections, the information is sent to, it's called sent to SEO, that's how it's, but what it does is, it matches whether this selection of components have been ordered earlier. So, so whatever selections that you have made on the sales order, it matches that. If that selection is made, it retrieves that existing star item number and puts it onto your sales order, or creates new star item. So once you make your selections in this block here, all your selections is sent to a matching engine which matches. Either it retrieves the existing match from product information management, or it creates a new star item into product information management, and then that order, that star item is sent to create the supply. So after this matching process, the rest of the flow is like a standard item flow. You send the request after the scheduling to supply chain orchestration, which sends the request to manufacturing, and the manufacturing also sees every component. So in manufacturing, you have the option pending verb definition defined, which executes certain operations only when those options are selected, and it completes the work order, sends it to the shipping system. From there, it is shipped out to your customers.
So match configuration is nothing but, so if you have already defined a combination of a model with option classes, options and option classes, if same thing you are trying to do, it again it matches the same star item and puts it, that's what is called match configuration?
Correct. Correct. So if you have ordered the Dell laptop with a 64 GB RAM and a 128 GB hard disk and a 17-inch monitor, it looks that this configuration has been ordered earlier, and it retrieves you an existing star number. So it's just that, suppose your model is called Dell 117, it retrieves Dell 117 star, say 123. And if you have now selected a 1 TB hard disk, so it's same Dell 117 star 345. You know, because it created a new, nobody has ordered a 1 TB yet. So it's checked the configuration, it sees that this configuration has not been ordered earlier, it creates a new star item, and it sends that star item configuration to be manufactured.
Yeah, this is the same as an EBS. So
Yes, exactly the same.
So one question here is, the item cross reference. Usually, the item which we are entering on the sales order, that is not our internal item. That would be a customer item that has a cross reference of the internal item. Is that the same thing we do here also?
Yes, we do the same thing.
Okay, okay. So
here it's called like a spoke system item. We create a spoke system item, and that spoke system item is your like cross-reference thing.
Okay, got it. So one more question. The star item is nothing but a model, right? Which is the final product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you know, the interesting thing here is, yes, in functional terms, the star item is a model. But if you see in the system, technically, it's a standard item because it is already configured, you know. There are no options now that you can add to it. So from a system and an IT perspective, it's a standard item. So the star item is the standard, but the ATO is a model.
Yes. It's the ATO one is the one we are manufacturing, right?
ATO is the one which we define all our setups on, but we manufacture the star item because that is your chosen configuration.
Okay, got it.
So when the star item is created in product information management, it inherits the attributes of the ATO. So you know the star item also has to be manufacturing enabled, right? It inherits from the ATO model. If your ATO model is marked as back-to-back, it's marked as built-in with, the star item also inherits those specifications or properties.
Actually, one more question, Deepti.
Mm-hmm.
You said that it sends to the product management, right? It is a new item, new star item, as a standard item. Also, it sends the item, what do you call, item structure, and also the routing also back to the information.
So up until release 13, we had an enhancement where for the star item, we could not see the BOM in product information management, in product data. And it was like an enhancement, and that the structure of the config item will be visible. I can't recollect if that enhancement was implemented, but I know up to release 11 and early releases of 13, you could not see the structure of the star item in the product master data. And that was an enhancement. So in the latest ones, I'll have to check if the enhancement is delivered.
So both, I'm talking about both BOM and routing also. Routing means, what do you call, list of operations, what do you call?
Yes, the work definition. So the BOM, like I said, I have to check if in the latest releases of 19A, 18C, if it has been delivered. But I think till 18 or 17C, we could not see the BOM. The work definition, yes, you can see in your work order how the work definition of the star item looks like. And this work definition is viewed in manufacturing, but the BOM or the item structure is viewed in the product master data.
Okay. My another question, actually very, very basic question. So what release you are talking right now, what is the latest? And that we have not spoken. So now we are covering this course in release, what version of that?
So product capability, I will speak about most latest thing. So I think just last week we have the 19B. I may not be on top of every thing delivered in 19B, but yeah, up until 19A was delivered in January. So so most capabilities I'm mostly aware. So we are talking very strictly from a product capability standpoint, and there could be, so Oracle, you know how it's releasing now, it's releasing every quarterly updates, and it releases small feature updates every quarterly. So it could be some tiny feature or some tiny UI enhancement is done, which we may not peek of, but from a capability point of view, you will be correct.
So the system, we will be given access, and you are training us. Is the R30K?
The training instance, I actually didn't check, very honest. I'll check and get back to you. I'll check and make a note of it.
Actually, this is most important. People will ask what.
But like I said, it does not, like the latest patches, even if your training instance is not the latest patch, from like a capability point of view, you will not be handicapped. It could be like some feature, like just example, if you can view the item structure of a config item is delivered recently, maybe if our training instance is not the latest, you'll not view that. From what I've used the training instance so far, it's not the latest for sure. Which release it is in, I'll have to check.
Please tell us so that this training is done in so-and-so version. We are trained on so-and-so version. That's what we should do this.
Oh, absolutely, because in the newer release after 19A, like just this January, after the UI has changed a bit. So initially after 19A, yes, even we struggled to find the components which we were not finding in the right place. It's just some, they made some collapse window and some very basic changes. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
Sure.
Okay, I will move to the next business flow. This is a contract manufacturing flow. This is also an interesting flow. I request participants who are not speaking to go on mute, please.
Yeah,
I hear some echo.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm getting echo. Can somebody put the mute?
Okay, so here also we can create the supply order in two ways. Either the input can be from sales order, that is the order management, then it's called a back-to-back fulfillment, or it can come from planning. And in this case, like a very typical manufacturing flow that we have seen the plan to produce where the input comes from planning, from SEO you create the work order, or from OM to SEO you create the work order. In this case, the work order is created by a contract manufacturer. So this half of the flow is very much the same. It's just that you can have either the sales order as an input or the plan as an input, and you create the supply order. It sees that in the item you mark that the item is a contract manufacturing item. So you create the work order, and you also create, like this part of manufacturing is the contract manufacturer's work order. It's a contract manufacturing system. It creates the work order in your org, and it creates a purchase order against your contract manufacturer. So that's how it decides to fulfill that order to your contractor via a purchase order, and at the same time it is manufacturing the item. So you create the work order, you cut a PO on your contract manufacturer, you consume the components and in the manufacturing, and the contract manufacturer completes the work order, sends you regular updates. You receive the progress updates. By progress updates I mean how much he's completed, which stage of manufacturing is he in, and when he completes he sends you the goods to your org, and you create the inventory, and finally you can ship out the inventory to either the sales order or stock it in your inventory if it was from a plan. So just the different pieces where you create a purchase order, send it to your contract manufacturer, and based on that purchase order the contract manufacturer begins his manufacturing, and you can get all real-time updates from that contract manufacturer and complete the processing.
I have two questions here. One is that in EPS, I think contract manufacturing was working only with standard costing. Is that restriction still here also in the cloud?
I'll have to get back to that question.
Okay. So second question was that can we do this if only you're sending out one operation only to the contract manufacturer and not the rest of the operations? Is it feasible, or is it worthwhile, or is it feasible to do that?
So when you're sending out only one operation to an external person, that is called like an outside processing. So only that operation is defined as a supplier operation, wherein that operation is outsourced and the supplier does his value addition and sends you back to complete the manufacturing process. But in this one, you can set it up like you are supplying the components to your contract manufacturer to complete the manufacturing, or even the components is brought in by the contract manufacturer, however. But here the whole work order is with the contract manufacturer.
So the entire thing has to be sent to him, not just one operation in this case, right?
Correct, correct. One or many operations can be shared in our next flow, which is the outside processing flow.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Actually, DP, quick question. So contract manufacturing is where you give your material to the supplier and give him a purchase order to run a work order.
Yeah, he buys the material from you. So he receives it against a PO. What they do is they receive it against the PO, and then he manufactures that, and then he will ship the end product back to you.
He is not buying them, right? Material from
Yeah, it is buying because they want to keep the accounting of the materials, so that's why they create a buying, because then the value is kept under that supplier. So that's the reason that they handle it through a PO. Okay. So every transfer is done through a PO.
No, I think.
No, that's correct. That's correct actually. So on the purchase order, so you know what, here we have, like in a contract manufacturing flow, you typically define two items. One is item which you are manufacturing, on which the work order will be placed, and other is the component of that work order which is placed on your purchase order. So that in Oracle Cloud terms is called the service item, which is the services, and it is backflushed when you complete your complete the process, complete the execution of the work order.
So the components or service items. So in a PO you will have both service items and the end product, right?
No, PO would not have end product. PO is
PO, sorry, right. It does not have the end product. It has only the service item.
Right.
Oh, service items. So you buy the service items, but how do you supply the finished good though?
The finished good is shipped to your inventory, and from there you can ship it out to the customer if it's a back-to-back, or you can just stock it if it was a request from planning.
Without PO, how you receive it? There should be a PO for the finished goods, so that you ship these things to the supplier. For example, I will say a tire is there, let us say, a rim, a tube, of the tire and the rim you are sending, you are asking him to assemble it and send that product, am I right?
So the receiving is done against the PO. You are actually right there. So the receiving is done against the PO. Once the work order is completed, the receiving into your organization is done against that PO.
That's for against the PO for the finished good item?
Against, no.
I think you have the ships SO. I think this the middle one, logistics, reserve work order, and ships SO. I think so. The contract manufacturer is actually shipping against a sales order.
Sorry, yes, that's actually right. No, sorry, I messed it up.
So there is a PO and an SO. Both are there under the contract manufacturer. So that means he buys the parts from you, and he ships the end product against the sales order.
So in your system, you will see a PO for the finished good and a sales order for components.
No. You see the PO on the service. That's called like the contract manufacturing service item, or yeah, it's called service item. Contract manufacturing service item it's called. You'll see the PO on that, but your work order is on the final item which the customer has requested.
Correct. Work order. So you parallelly will have a work order also in your place or no?
You do have a work order. You do have a work order at the contract manufacturing which you can view. So which you have all the regular updates and you're completely updated about the work order and what state it is and how much has been completed and how much is pending.
So, okay, got it. So there are three orders are created. One is PO, one is sales order to ship, and another is work order to monitor the progress. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So the PO is my system. The PO is to receive something. Then I should have a PO to receive the item, completed item. And I need to have some kind of a document to ship my product to the supplier, and because he bought it, as Dilip said.
Okay. I think I can answer this, Rao.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, what I understood here is, you have a sales order with the finished product. Okay. And this is this item marked as a contract manufacturing. When you schedule supply chain architecture, will create the work order in the plant. That work order does not have a components to complete it. So you automatically, it also creates the PO based on the availability. So that PO has a component. You cut that PO, you send it to the supplier, and supplier send that component to you. You receive it. When you receive it, this work order reserve that component, and you will complete that work order. And that when you complete that work order, that finished product will be available in the inventory. That it has a reservation with the sales order, and that sales order now you can pick and ship it.
Yeah, so you have to look at two sides of the equation. One is the main organization, which is the one placing the order on the contract manufacturer, and then you have the contract manufacturer, and these are two different inventory orgs, because the contract manufacturer is modeled as a separate inventory org. And so now the requesting org is going to send create a supply order. I don't think it creates a work order there. It creates a supply order, and that translates into a work order at the contract manufacturer. Then that creates, the contract manufacturer has a PO to buy from the requesting org, and also it has a sales order to ship to the requesting org. So this is how I understand the two sides of it, because the important point to understand is contract manufacturer is mapped to an inventory org.
You're actually right, Dilip, but here, yeah, like you said, they're not two orgs. It's only, everything what you said is correct. You create one org and you model that org as a contract manufacturing org. So that's how it's defined in.
Yeah, but then setup. The org where you're going to receive it, the requesting business has an inventory org, a different inventory org, in which you're receiving this item, correct? In which the supply order was created. So that's your original.
No, so the supply order is, so basically supply, what SEO does is, it sees that this order needs to be created at a contract manufacturing org. It directly creates the work order in the contract manufacturing org.
Yes,
and the contract manufacturer.
But the requirement is for which inventory org in the requesting org? On the left hand side, the one that creating the supply order is to be received where? It has to be received in a particular inventory org. And then it says, okay, let's take the vision case. Let's say 001 was your inventory org, which creates a supply order. The supply order has to have an inventory org, right? Where you want the supply to be received. I want the contract manufacturer to deliver to my 001 sub inventory, correct? And then you model another contract manufacturing org to a supplier and say it is called 005. And the contract manufacturer is that inventory of 005 belongs to the contract manufacturer. And then the work order and the PO, all that is created for 005. Okay. So that's how it will work. I'm thinking, I don't think this has changed very much from EBS, and that's how it is in EBS. That's the reason I'm saying that. Not that I know Fusion, I don't know Fusion, but I'm saying that this is how it is in EBS, and it seems to be modeled the same way. Yeah.
Yes, it's modeled the same way. So, and in case of the sales orders flow, the contract manufacturing has the sales order details that it can directly ship to. And in the planning's case, yes, it against that PO, it creates the ASN to have your inventory to the right org.